I don't know, Jackie style juggling with props, if you will, when he starts juggling with his shoes. Speaking, guys, of like stories on the internet and shit like that, is there any truth to the fact that when someone made Millionaires Express, he was jealous of Jackie in any regard because Jackie made big movies or made bigger movies than him? Is there any truth to all any rivalry between them?
Easiest thing you got to look at is from talking to Yun Wao, and I've worked with him a lot, and other people, is they were a family. They all grew up together, and Sammo was the first to break out. And Sammo's always been the big brother. So there were perhaps times when he felt, well, I was the first, I was the big brother, I brought everyone in.
This is the best moment here, though. No, man, it's hot dog.
It's hot dog. I think the problem was, especially at that time, there was a lot of, like Golden Harvest then were very much, Jackie was only making movies for Golden Harvest. Sammo was making movies between, Golden Harvest, D&B films, Gumbo films, Bojan. Sammo was working all over the place, and I think occasionally there was some politics at Golden Harvest, perhaps, where, Jackie was regarded as the golden boy, and Sammo wasn't. But it's like, I think Yunhua summed it up. They're a family. Occasionally, families have arguments. So,
And it's that kind of fact that he gets blown up and mistreated and jumbled about on the internet.
Prime example is, on Ip Man 2, somebody posted a story about Darren Shalavi punching Sammo and knocking him down, when, as if, Darren had no control, as if Darren was a bad guy, as if Sammo got badly hurt. When the truth of the matter is, they were doing a close-up shot where Darren had to hit Sammo for the shot. Sammo was asking him to hit him. Sammo slipped as he was coming off the ropes and bumped into Darren's fist and went down for all of about 0.2 of a second, at which point Darren helped him up, Sammo gave him a hug, told him it wasn't his fault, and they carried on filming. But instead, somebody puts on the internet, oh no, poor old Darren, he knocked down Sammo, blah, 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 and tries to build it into something bad. It's,
I was quite pleased with that post I put up, Mike.
Well, I wasn't going to name your name. Yeah.
But I do love these little throwaway gags in this film, like with the sugar.
Yeah.
Sammo putting sugar in his pal's drink, and then his pal continues to put sugar in for his own drink. It's great reactions.
It's a very obscure reference I'm going to make here, but the guy on the right, the kind of worn little guy, actor apparently called Ao Chu Cham, and I've only seen him in one thing, but it really impressed me. There was a TV series called Below the Lion Rock, as Mike surely knows, and a lot of listeners surely knows.
RTHK, everybody worked on that.
And the Alan Fong directed New Life stars Ao Chu Cham, the guy we saw in the previous scene, and he's really good. He plays a ex-con drug addict. He's in the scene here as well. So pick that up on DVD, Below the Lion Rock, the Alan Fong disc set. Here we go. This is the greatest scene in the movie for me. This is the statement.
Tony Leung Soo-hong, brother of Bruce Liang, playing the Bruce Lee impersonator.
Leung Soo-hong is a greatly underrated action director.
With a very Robert Klaus-looking white guy sitting next to him.
Tony Leung is greatly underappreciated action director and director as well, and primarily Vendetta, the horror movie Vendetta with Ray Loy.
No, that's a classic little movie. Tony Leung is another guy who's done so much and never really got the credit for it. He was the assistant choreographer for Ip Man. He choreographed all the action for the Young Ip Man movie. He's done so much stuff all over the place. He's worked as a director in America, in Russia. He's just on a TV show in Russia. He's fantastic. Yeah.
And there's no subtlety in this scene, and there shouldn't be. This is the statement of the film, the statement of Sammo's, because I'm sure he didn't quite
he doesn't seem like Bruce Lee.
Just put the glasses on him and give him that tracksuit, then you're home free. And I'm sure Sammo actually took a hit for this scene. Wouldn't be surprised. But it even tracks back or tracks forward this scene to a movie we discussed on Podcast on Fire, Finishing the Game, which has this point of, it takes a lot more to make a Bruce Lee copy, but they go the lazy route. You remember, Stewart, that they...
I just love that moment where, Sammo's getting the slap and is actually pulling the Bruce Lee face.
Yeah.
He's basically hulking up.
Exactly. But basically, Finishing the Game is a flawed mockumentary, but it has some great points about the cheapness of creating Bruce Lee copies. Was it Bruce Lowe? What the hell was his name in that movie? Anyway, Bruce Lowe or something like that.
Bruce Lowe. I wear a blue and white tracksuit, and I'm called Breeze Lowe.
He's like,
he wore a yellow.
They're completely different cats.
And we're in completely different movies as well. Fist of Führer.
Exactly. I mean, the funny thing I always love is some of the movies that got retitled for the West, that, in Hong Kong, nobody even knew they were being marketed as a Bruceploitation or as a Ninja-sploitation or something, Yeah. There'd be I mean, like, if you ever watched The Real Bruce Lee by Seraphim Caraflexis, which is just insanity with, like, old, Japanese movies clips used to claim this is footage of Bruce Lee's ancestors, and footage from Bruce Lee's childhood movies just redubbed with bizarre dialogue.
But apparently it was that easy to make a cheap Bruceploitation product. They used a lot of the press conference footage from, I guess, Fist of Unicorn with Bruce Lee.
Yeah. I mean that's what's so crazy. That footage, and unfortunately Bruce Lee's funeral footage, seemed to turn up everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean.
And they make a plot point out of that. I was very
confused by the whole Fist of Unicorn thing. That, with there was always the thing that Bruce didn't realize just how much stuff was being filmed.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like, everyone's probably seen that footage from 36 Crazy Fist. There's Lam Ching Ying, sorry. There's a clip from the making of 36 Crazy Fist where you see Jackie choreographing everybody against the red background. And Jackie came in for one day, and that's all he did. He choreographed the opening sequence against the red backdrop, and it's filmed and released as a special gift for fans of Jackie Chan around the world. And then the movie was marketed as choreographed by Jackie Chan, or by certain people, directed by Jackie Chan.
Of course.
It's...
When all honesty, the credit should have been arranged by Jackie Chan.
And sadly, it would have been against the red background arranged by Jackie Chan, everything else by Tony Leung and Lau Gao-yun. It's,
And these people fucked over Jackie Chan. And these are the names of the people.
That's the thing, and it's just sometimes footage used to get used, and it would turn up everywhere, and even to this day, there's some films, there's rights issues because nobody's sure who owns the copyright. And there's all these grey areas, so it's sometimes very frustrating that some footage just, nobody's sure who officially owns it, Because so many Hong Kong movies were made by companies that were formed for one movie, and then that company would disappear, so there's all these, films that maybe 3 or 4 companies claim ownership for, or nobody's really sure, and then, other films that were never shown in Hong Kong, or the prints got lost, or, there's so many grey areas, it's,
I agree, Stu. I like Fung Hak on this film. It's a bit more sneaky rather than full-on, hands-on fighting rapists that usually becomes. It's a kind of.
He's being kind. He's offering to help serve his own food. Here
come the drugs.
A little touch of sugar.
Yeah.
But sometimes that roasted goose is a little bit better.
Exactly.
He's as one of you mentioned, he's an underrated actor and director. One of the movies I remember he really did well on was Edge of Darkness. Again, obscure references, but the Yeon Shum Shin Soo Ho thriller, action thriller, really good. Alex Mann is in that.
That should be a podcast on fire all about him. The man could have been king. Yeah.
What's Shin Soo Ho doing? Do you know that right now?
He was doing really bad TV movies for a while, including like Royal Sperm, which is the Chinese title is meant to be like Royal Blood, like the bloodline, and the English title is Royal Sperm.
Sweet.
trying to tell the producers that might not be the name to market it with. He looks pretty reasonable. I mean, the last time I saw him was I shot the interview with him for Tai Chi Master.